Hey, Bill O'Reilly here. Welcome to the No Spin News, Monday, August 22nd, 2022. Stand up for your country. So much propaganda in the USA, so little time to correct it. Things are not going well in this country. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. So Rasmussen, which is a fairly reliable poll, comes out and says Joe Biden's approval rating is up to 47%. In this country. That about half of those polled think Biden's doing a good job. Now, that's very misleading, not because of Rasmussen, but because of events. So you may have noticed that Biden's fortunes started to turn around after the Mar-a-Lago raid. It's almost the day of it. Biden started to inch up. Why? Because it illuminated Donald Trump for Democrats and independents who hate him. So now it's a comparison kind of a thing because they fear that Trump might come back after this Mar-a-Lago thing. That's why Biden's up. Now, the Biden people have done a very, very smart thing. They've kept him out of sight. So most presidents go on vacation. You see them golfing. You see them at restaurants or what. Biden's just gone. He was in South Carolina, gone. Now he's back in Delaware, gone. Doesn't say anything. So they're going, you're just going to keep him under wraps until after Labor Day. He signed an inflation bill, and then he disappeared because Trump has dominated the news cycle. However, NBC is out with a poll. 1,000 registered voters, Democrat 39, Republican 40. Notice how all of these polling operations have stopped now using more Democrats than Republicans after I hammered that for a year. Now they don't do that anymore. So this is a very instructive poll. First question, do you think things in the nation are generally headed in the right direction or the wrong track? Right direction, 21%. Wrong track, 74%. According to The Hill, that's the highest number of dissatisfaction with the nation's directed in history. 74% of Americans say we're not going in the right direction. So how could then Biden, who's responsible for all of this chaos, be going up in a poll? Just as I said, it's all about Trump. Second question. When you think about the future for America, do you feel more confident that America's best years are still ahead or behind? Ahead 35, best years behind 58. That's a nostalgia play. I mean, we live in a country now that's severely divided. People hate each other. There are bad changes going on in criminal justice, in your money, inflation. So I'm not surprised. Do I think the best years of America are in front of us? No. I think the collapse of the public education system and the college university system has damaged this country in a tremendous way, but that'll be another day, right? Third question, thinking about the direction of the country 5 years from now, will it be better or worse? Get better, 36, get worse, 34, same, 21. So nobody knows. I mean, you can't make that. Depends on the vote in November, whether Republicans can blunt the Biden machine in Congress, and then who's elected president in 24. Now, the dissatisfaction level, again, 74%, I mean, that's astronomical, is based on three things. The economy, we all know. All right, everybody's paying more money, things are far more expensive, and everybody's getting hurt. The second thing is the collapse of immigration law. People can see the millions of migrants coming across the border, 5 million. 5 million across the border, according to the Federation for Immigration Reform, since Biden's been in office. 5 million human beings in here. I mean, that's a catastrophe. Now, tomorrow I'm going to do the moral implications of this around New York Cardinal Dolan, and how he is processing the migrants coming to New York City. We're going to do that tomorrow. And then the third reason is the collapse of the criminal justice system. We all know criminals aren't being punished by liberal DAs and liberal mayors, and this is affecting everyone. In fact, the 5 most liberal cities in the country, Chicago, Detroit, Portland, Cleveland, and San Francisco, people will not go downtown. Okay, 45% of people living in those areas will not go downtown. And that's according to the Institute of Government Studies at UCal Berkeley. So you know it's bad. Everybody knows it's bad. Now, all of those controversies, inflation, collapse of immigration, collapse of criminal justice, is on the Democratic Party. Right? It's not the Republicans doing this. But if you look at the real clear average, who are you going to vote for generically in November, it's a tie. It's a tie, according to the polls, between the Democrats and the Republicans, evenly divided. Nah, I don't believe it. But I could be wrong. But I think the Democrats are going to get waxed in the House of Representatives. Senate's another thing. Got some pretty dubious candidates on the Republican side in the Senate. I'm not going to get into this until after Labor Day, when the polling is better and sharper. But the Senate's not a lock. House, I think, is at this point. And that is the memo. Now let's go to the media. So everybody in the media, talking about CNN, the destruction. I had a call from somebody who I've known decades, and they say, is Fox going to do the same thing like CNN? Are they going to start wiping people out? And I go, no. Why would Fox do that? Fox is holding its conservative audience, not the way it used to, but they're making money. They're not going to wipe anybody out, I don't think. But CNN is going to wipe a lot of people out. So the first one, as you know, is Brian Stelter, and Brian Stelter got more attention to being fired than he did in more than a decade of being on the air. Now, as Hyman Roth said in Godfather 2, when talking about Frankie Pantangelo, small potatoes. All right, Brian Stelter meant nothing to CNN. He was on once a week. He was a hatchet man, and now he's feeling the blade. Karma, you make the call, as I wrote in my message of the day. But it's not meaning anything. The big boys at CNN are Anderson Cooper and Wolf Blitzer and Don Lemon. Is that how he says? I don't know how he says his name. But they don't have anybody. So those people have been on decades. And Americans know who they are. They watch, but they're not going to watch them. It's not the matter that they're liberal. They're boring. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that, but come on. I got to be honest. I don't care if you're liberal or conservative or libertarian or whatever you are. If you're interesting, I'll give you a look. But if it's the same old stuff every night, and that goes to conservative networks too. If you're boring, I'm not watching. All right, so anyway, Carl Bernstein. Oh, this signifies what CNN is all about. Here he is, one of the Watergate guys, okay? He signifies what CNN is. It symbolizes the corruption of that news agency. So he goes on and says, oh, no, CNN's never really been far left. No. And he's trying to basically tell you the impossible. And you know what it is. But then I asked myself, I said, look up Bernstein and what he was doing in the middle of Russian collusion in September 2017. Roll the tape.
Robert Mueller, the special counsel, is looking at the conduct of President Donald Trump, members of his family, especially Jared Kushner, also his closest campaign aides, in terms of their dealings with Russia, ethno-Russians, during the campaign and before, and in business. But there's a much larger context that now informs the whole investigation, and that is the conclusion of the American intelligence community under Donald Trump, not under Obama, that now is certain that the Russians were very, very effective in undermining the campaign of Hillary Clinton, in specifically helping Donald Trump.
Now it's certain, he says. Of course, that turned out to be false. Every single thing he said was false. Everything. And this is supposed to be one of the premier reporters in our country. So instead of CNN maybe calling him in saying, Carl, your reporting's pretty bad. You got everything wrong. Everything. Did Carl come on and say, I'm sorry, this is why I blew it? No, I didn't. And every one of the people at CNN said the same thing that Bernstein said. That's why they're in oblivion. I couldn't bring them back. How about that for a conceited statement? Even I couldn't do it. And I know more about television program than anybody on the planet. And I think my track record speaks for itself. I couldn't bring them back because they're all damaged. You can't sell Americans a piece of rotten fruit. You got to get fresh fruit. They don't have it. They don't have the bench. Does inflation and the looming prospect of recession have you worried about your savings? Endowments, pension funds, and the ultra wealthy have been quietly investing in farmland for decades, and it's paying off for them. Farmland returns have averaged 11% per year for the last 30 years, even despite the dot-com crash, Great Recession, and COVID-19. When inflation goes up, so too does farmland value. Until recently, farmland investments have mostly been accessible only to institutions and elites. Acre Trader breaks this barrier. Acre Trader makes it easy to invest in thoroughly reviewed farm offerings, quickly and securely. Their team of agriculture experts does all the work while you collect passive income from your farmland investment. So put your money in a time-tested asset by visiting acretrader.com, or you can call 888-958-1470 and tell them O'Reilly sent you. That's acretrader.com. Okay, let's bring in Eric Bolling. Now, you know Bolling. He's on NewsMax, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It's a signature show. He used to sub for me on The Factor. He's coming to us from Boca Raton, Florida, where he lives large. Spends a lot of the day going out and telling people, I'm Eric Bolling, and what can I do for you? So my analysis.
Actually, I go, I used to fill in for O'Reilly like 200 times. And they go, oh, that Eric Bolling, gotcha.
And people still mention that to you, Bolling. I know they do, because I do all the time. So my analysis, CNN, fallacious, accurate? What say you?
I think, CNN, Don Lemon, as you point out, I think he's on the hot seat. I think what Malone did when Discovery merged with Time Warner, Malone, the big boss, came out and said, I don't like what they're doing over there. It's kind of BS. They're trying to out-left the leftists. CNN was always, back in the day, Bill, when you were first to beat CNN. You were first to take CNN down in 5 years when no one thought Fox News was going to be able to do it. CNN was news for both sides. It was a fair and balanced, or truly a fair and balanced. Fox was never fair and balanced, let's be honest. But CNN was a fair and balanced network, and then they started to drift left and further left, and then MSNBC came, and then the broadcast networks. So they were all competing for the same pie. What happened was when Malone came in, they bounced Zucker. Zucker's guy was Brian Stelter, as you point out. Stelter was the mouthpiece for Zucker, so it was only a matter of time before he got gone. Cuomo, Fredo was gone, Cuomo was gone. Then the guy, Jeffrey Toobin, who likes to expose himself in front of others, he was gone. So Stelter is like the third or fourth that are gone. I would say, I think they're going to try and get back to their roots. I don't personally think there's a market for the roots. I think America is so divided.
They can't, unless they wiped out everybody. Eric, unless they wiped out everybody, they can't get back to their roots, because that's why I used the Bernstein soundbite. I mean, you can't be that wrong. You can't. And look,
doesn't matter.
A guy like
the road, Bill. There's no market to be news for both sides. Who's not doing it? News Nation. They tried to be
that's
news
another
for
that's another discussion. It's another discussion whether so-called straight news can attract an audience when they've already been ginned up by opinionated news. But a couple of things. You mentioned Jeff Zucker. I didn't. So people who don't follow this, Jeff Zucker is the previous president of CNN who brought them into a hate Trump area and pretty much destroyed the network and Stelter, as Bolling accurately points out, was his hatchet man. So Zucker was fired. Now Stelter is fired. They don't have anyone to put in. A guy like Jake Tapper, for example, they give him 2 hours. People hate him. He's number 3 in a time slot, always has been. He's unpleasant. They won't watch him. And now he's been bantered around as doing the morning show. Literally, Good Morning Pittsburgh gets more viewers than CNN's morning show on a national basis. It's a catastrophe. But anyway, maybe they'll try, CNN will try what they had when I first went at them. Remember, Larry King was the face of CNN. I remember telling my staff, we're going to beat Larry because Larry doesn't have any juice. He doesn't really know what's happening. He reads questions off a piece of paper. He doesn't really, he's not bringing anything to the interview, and I will. I'll bring a sharp point of view and a frame of reference that Larry has no clue. And it wasn't that hard to beat him. And we beat the guy on MSNBC, Chris Matthews, pretty quick. He was just too bombastic and left-wing. And you say that Fox News was never fair and balanced. My show was.
You were well, let's be honest. You call Bill you and I talk a lot, and I think you're as straight shooters as straight shooters can be. You were as fair and balanced as anyone was at Fox. I'm not saying anything anyone doesn't realize. I think you were the most fair and balanced of the network.
My mandate was, and still to this day is, find the most intelligent person who disagrees with me and put them on the air.
Yeah.
Or
no question.
On the air.
My point is that you and I both know you can develop you can take the same story that's being talked about on 16 straight hours and take it from a different direction. I think you were the most fair.
We did that. But we put on Mark Lamont Hill. We put on all of these leftists. We wanted people to hear what they had to say.
You know why? Because no one else at that network, maybe no one else in cable, and I'm not just blowing smoke up your very, very pretty dress. You could pull it off because people came to see Bill O'Reilly. And maybe so.
But we had a philosophy.
They're not doing that for Tucker. They're not doing it. And
no, they're preaching to a choir now, Fox, but it's a profitable choir. Now, so in CNN, I agree with you. I don't think that they're going to succeed no matter what they do at this point in history. Let's go to NewsMax. So the only way NewsMax succeeds, the only way, Bolling, is to cut into the audience of Fox News. And you've been able to do that, you, the network, not you, Eric Bolling, but the network has been able to do that when it runs Trump rallies, Trump this, Trump that. So it takes, because Fox News doesn't do that anymore, Fox News management doesn't like Trump. That's the truth. They don't like him. I don't know why. I don't know. Well, when I was doing it, they were ambivalent about him. Nobody ever badmouthed Trump to me. They didn't. It wasn't one way or the other.
O'Reilly, you're going to tell me you think Rupert Murdoch was ambivalent about Donald Trump running for president?
He called Donald Trump every day. So I don't know what they were chatting about, but I know he called him every day. That I can report.
I'm not disputing the fact that there was contact. It was mutually beneficial. I think they both realized they needed each other.
I never cared about what the corporation. This is startling. I never cared about any corporation that I worked for, what it thought, ever. And that's why, I'm a little controversial. But let's get back to NewsMax. Okay. So how on earth at 8 o'clock are you going to get viewers away from Tucker Carlson?
So tall order, but yes, you're right. This audience, and again, we have to find out who your audience is, and you're a producer. You produce a product. You produce content. This audience loves Trump. So Trump's been a friend of mine for a long time. I absolutely told my audience how close we've been. I've been to his house. I've been with him since prior to him even talking about politics. And so I talk about it. I don't think this network is going to last being pro-Trump, and that's it. I think what people are realizing, we're more than that, right? So you talk about numbers. CNN is on their way down. We do a lot of my right now. I'm sitting at number one, or maybe tied for number one on the network. But what we do on television are the ones you see on Nielsen ratings. We're doing at least that much in the handheld. in the mobile stuff, right? Fox can't do that. CNN can't do that. Hannity can't put up Sean Hannity on their mobile app. That's the same show as Hannity on their TV. They have obviously have agreements with distribution. No one in their right mind is going to pay them whatever it is, $12 or $20 per sub to put Hannity on and compete with Fox on their digital. So we don't have that situation. So we're approaching CNN numbers now. I think and by the way, Bill, I'm going to disagree with you a little bit here. The information that we get, the marketing stuff that we get, we have a very large independent audience. It's way more. It's a bigger percentage of our audience, the independents, than Fox by far, and we can show you that if you want. But so I think as time goes, it'll be the same thing. Roger Ailes knew, put people up, put personalities up. They came for the network, but they stayed because they liked Bill O'Reilly, or they liked Sean Hannity, or they liked whomever, Lori, whoever it is. They stayed for that, and I think slowly NewsMax is kind of catching that drift.
Okay, but what about covering stories? So say Donald Trump did something felonious by removing documents, all right? This is conjecture, speculation, possible. We haven't seen anything that indicates that, but say that's how this all shakes down. How can Newsmax really cover that if, as you just said, most of your audience loves Trump?
My audience is a Trump-loving audience. Bill. I videotaped myself getting the vaccine twice. I videotaped it, showed my audience. I'm a libertarian. I tell my audience.
All right, so you would do it straight.
Disagree with this. I tell them, sleep with who you want, marry who you want. Just don't let the kids. Don't bring your policy, your weirdness into your children. You make you're an adult, do it. But kids, once you start playing with kids, I draw the line. My point is this: I'll report whatever happens, however it happens. Of course, I will.
Okay, but there's going to be pressure somewhere down the line for Newsmax to not be a cheerleader for Trump. Right?
I'm not a cheerleader. I think.
No, but I'm talking about the overall network, the tone of the network.
I think both networks have certain cheerleaders for Trump, and yes, there are. There are.
Okay.
And sometimes, if on Fox they change their mind, like Laura Ingraham all of a sudden says.
It is. And to be fair in this discussion, when you have a network on the air for 25 years. All right, up against a startup Newsmax, what 5 years now, 6 years? I mean, come on.
So here's my
all
issue.
Those resources.
You want to make some news here?
Sorry.
Here's my issue. The raid. The raid was a big event because I personally I carry a constitution wherever I go. I think they violated Trump's Fourth Amendment right. Okay, so whatever. The raid's big. There's a guest. I don't want to name names. It's a Trump attorney. And I wanted her to come on the show. We're friends. I've known her for a long time. And she tells me, and I'm not naming names, and I won't say who said it. And this happened. The producers at Fox said, you can't go on Bolling's show because you're going to be on our show every single night this week. One of the different shows, our network, every single night this week. And I was like, they must be nervous, Bill. They've got to be concerned if they tell someone, don't come on Newsmax, because then they know we're competitions. They hear us coming. They hear the footsteps.
Well, I'm not surprised, Bolling. It happens in every network. Well, I don't think it happens in Newsmax, but it happens in every established network. I could tell you stories all day long about me, your humble correspondent, and how they, what the orders are. Final question for you. I think the media is irredeemable now in America. I think it's done. I think it's betrayed the American people. My message of the day on BillO'Reilly.com states that very clearly. When you have a situation like Mar-a-Lago, the most high-profile FBI raid in the world, and 90% of the reporting on it is speculation, you know it's over. It is over. And I wanted to know if you think the same thing.
I do. My monologue tonight on the show is all about how the liberal world in America is running the show in the House and the Senate and the White House. and the media is so liberal, they've embraced it. It's almost become a perfect circuit, a power circuit. And it's kind of tapping into what they did with the $739 billion, you called it Inflation Reduction Act, which it's not. It's a payoff to the green energy group. It's a circuit. And so the players who are the solar energy companies, they're pulling the money, taxpayer money out. The media is complicit in keeping the power moving, and the politicians are turning over the money to the companies in return for votes. It's a perfect circle. The media is part of the problem. Here's my thing, though. I think the media has become so far bifurcated that there is no middle ground anymore. Has become, when it was information, became infotainment, and now it really is entertainment. And you pick your choice of entertainment. You like liberal entertainment, you want conservative entertainment. When a guy like Alex Jones, who's a personal friend of mine, can be making $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 a day selling supplements on his show that clearly is not news, it's entertainment, then we know what the American appetite for is. And it's not for news and it's not for media, it's to be entertained.
All right, Eric, thanks very much. We appreciate it. And we'll talk again soon, I hope. AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, is the leading conservative advocacy and benefits organization in America. I am an AMAC member, and you should be too. AMAC gives you access to exclusive benefits, insightful takes on today's news, and a magazine full of uncensored content that you will not find anywhere else. Most importantly, AMAC is working tirelessly to preserve the freedoms enshrined and secured by our Constitution. AMAC has become one of the most impactful organizations in America because more than just talk, AMAC gets things done. They are pushing back against the efforts to defund our police, weaken the borders, and replace your freedom with government control. But they need your help. Stand with me and more than 2 million patriots and join AMAC today at amac.us. That's AMAC.us. amac.us, and tell them O'Reilly sent you. All right, here is our final thought of the day. 2 weeks, 1 day, and summer is sayonara in the realistic sense. Summer goes into late September. And here in the Northeast, it's warm now. You can go to the ocean till about October 1st. When I was a kid, you could do that. Could not do it. But you got to get into a different mindset, because after Labor Day, it's going to be a jet rocket to the midterm election, which is one of the most important elections in our lifetime. If the American people allow the Biden administration to continue doing what it is doing, the harm may never be righted. And that's why I believe that the Republicans, and they're no bargains, generally speaking, will win the House. Senate, we're going to follow it very closely, obviously. But the Biden administration is so destructive to you and me, it's almost impossible for me to tell you how destructive that is. 5 million foreign nationals allowed in a year and a half by Joe Biden into this country with no supervision, unattended. 5 million? I mean, come on. Okay. So we will be here tomorrow, and we're going to do the moral thing about the migrants, the foreign nationals coming to the USA. Hopefully, we will see you then. Thanks for watching tonight. Inflation at its highest level in 40 years. Interest rates skyrocketing. We all know that. Market experts like Jamie Dimon, CEO of JP Morgan, not only predict a recession, but are using scary terms like economic hurricane and unprecedented. So, you need to call the only precious metal dealer I trust, American Hartford Gold. They will show you how to protect your savings and retirement accounts by diversifying your portfolio with physical gold and silver. Please call them today, and they will have physical gold and silver delivered right to your door or put inside your IRA or 401k. They have thousands of satisfied customers, are the highest rated firm in the country with an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. Tell them Bill O'Reilly sent you, and they'll give you up to $2,500 of free silver on your first order. Please call 866-501-5201, 866-501-5201, or text BILL to 65532. Again, 866-501-5201, or text BILL to 65532.